A very good evening and a very warm welcome to all our dear parents who've joined us this evening and our dear teachers from all across our 8 Manavrachna International Schools. I wholeheartedly welcome you all to the EduCon with MRIS school leaders on National Education Policy 2020, ECCE and foundation stages. I would also like to welcome our esteemed panelists for the evening. To start with, Ms. Sanyogita Sharma, Director, Manavrachna International Schools, Ms. Mamta Vadhva, Director Principal, Manavrachna International Schools, Sector 14, Faridabad, Ms. Triti Malhotra, Director Principal, MRIS 46, Gurugram, Ms. Seema Anis, Principal, MRIS 21C, Faridabad, Ms. Nindya Saket, Principal, MRIS Noida, Ms. Anju Dhawan, Principal, MRIS Ludhiana, Ms. Alpana Baveja, Principal, MRIS 51, Gurugram, Dr. Suchitra Bhattacharya, Principal, MRIS Chamwood, and Ms. Taruna Vishisht, Principal, MRIS Mohali. A heartfelt gratitude to all our esteemed panelists for being here today to enlighten us, and I am certain that by the time we leave this webinar, we will all be enriched. First and foremost, I would like to say that the age group that is under discussion today is of prime relevance in the educational journey of a child. It is the foundation upon which the learning is developed and strengthened, and so it is imperative that these formative years of the foundation stage are managed effectively for a child to enjoy the process of learning and be a lifelong learner. I would like to share with all of you that just when the draft of the National Education Policy 2020 was released, all our teachers across all 8 Manavrachna International Schools were asked to read it and give feedback. That ensured two things. One, that everyone had read it, and two, it worked as an evaluation of what the NEP 2020 said and how much of it that we were already practicing and what more needed to be done to be in absolute sync with it. And because Manavrachna believes in transparency and bridging the gaps, this webinar today, EduCon, has been organized with that thought in mind for parents and schools to be on the same page, as it is together that we can truly make a difference. I personally feel exceptionally fortunate to be in the presence of such an esteemed panel today. I'm certain all of us will leave this webinar enriched, like I said earlier. On that thought, I would like to invite Mrs. Sanyogita Sharma, Director, Manavrachna International Schools, to share the highlights of the National Education Policy 2020 with all of us.
Thank you so much, Nandini.
My pleasure, ma'am.
For putting your context in perspective. So it feels great, feeling of happiness when we all sit together today on this platform of educational conversations, where we have teachers, we have principals, we have the parents, and some of the children I can see here about whom we are going to talk about in the policy. So rightly said, we are going to discuss about the National Education Policy 2020 to have better clarity, collaboration, and to have a better sense of accountability, and to see that the education of children, the learning of children maintains its continuity and it gets more effective, better result giving compared to the current existing system that we have. And we all know, because the education policy is there in the public domain, all the parents, everybody has gone through, because I'll say that this is one education policy, if I say of the world, which has been so widely consulted, so widely deliberated, that it has reached the micro levels of our country. And anybody and everybody has given their views on it. And most of them, we see that they are reflected also. So far as Nandini said, you know, that Manavrachna teachers and we at Manavrachna, the management, the teachers, the parents also, because most of you, when we'll walk you through this, you realize that all that we are doing in the schools, right from 2006 onwards, many things you find them reflected in the education policy. So the policy resonates with Manavrachna very, very well. And we welcome this policy because this policy is a very forward-looking, promising policy which is set in the Indian context. It's going to be our own Indian policy, which is focusing on two elements. One is India-centric, the other is student-centric. So which are, you know, two essentials, because the entire education system now gives a lot of freedom, lot of autonomy two children. So if I talk about the students' selection, exit entry points, the number of choices in subjects to be given, the examination system looked into, everything that we look at is student centric. And I think it makes the parents and the children happy that there are many, many points which every educationist or every parent must have always thought about. We see it reflected. This is one policy which talks about 21st century aspirations, but at the same time it talks about your being grounded to your own culture, heritage, Indian classical languages. So it is, focusing on creating human beings. And when I talk about Manav Rachna, two words convey that we are creating human beings endowed with values of head and heart. So this policy strongly brings out Manav Rachna element. Yesterday, I was listening to the education minister, where Dr. Prashant Bhalla also happened to be one of the panelists. So the education minister also, resonated with the same that Manav Rachna is one thing which is crux of this education policy, that we look at the holistic development of our children. We are not focusing only on academics, rote memorization, tough coaching centers, examinations and degrees and certificates. Rather, this is at one platform where everybody has, consented to look at that the children need to find a calling to their heart, pick up subjects as per their passion, learn in a language where they have better proficiency in, and get wider range to choose from, so that whatever they learn, whatever they do, the best in each child comes out. So that is, I think, the whole essence of this policy, which wants the children to reach the optimum that they can, capacity building, and the teachers and the management and the people in education turn out to be much better planners, facilitators, so that we are able to create a learning environment which helps a child to dream, to put into action what he wants to, and achieve all that he can as per his capacity, his passion, his calling, and his interest. So in the same context, I would like to let you know that this particular session, which is focused on ECCE and foundation stage, which is the biggest change that this policy has brought in. Because if we talk about ECCE, it was never a part of formal education of Indian system. Our education schools started from grade 1 onwards, formal education if we talk about. These 3 years of preschooling were there in the urban area. Schools like us, schools like progressive parents also who would, make a decision to send their children to preschool classes. But there are a number of children, crores of children who have never been to school before grade 1. So it was felt that these 5 to 6 years where the child learns the maximum are wasted, and thereby resulting into a lot of learning crisis happening, lot of learning gaps available in children when it came to measuring competencies, measuring skills that a child learns. So it has been very thoughtfully put into that these 3 years of preschooling are very, very important, and every child in India goes to school during these 3 years. That is what the policy says. Now, looking at the policy is a guideline, which is a guiding principles. So what will happen later is lot of consultations between the states and the center, lot of committees to be formed, lot of deliberations to happen before it gets implemented, because the policy, the complete implementation of the policy is going to take 20 years, as the people, your policy makers have put it, that by 2040, all elements, all phases, all features that have been put in the policy will be realized by 2040. So keeping that in mind, we are going to look at this policy. So far as I am concerned, I have this panel of bright principals and heads of all the schools with me, who will be discussing in detail about the ECCE and foundation stage, which is, together put into 5 years as the foundation for setting the course for future learning for children. So I'll walk you through the entire policy as to what are the highlighting features in the complete spectrum of school education. And then with the help of all these principles, we'll focus on the foundational stage. So I would like to share with you some slides which will let you know as to what is it that we look at, how Manav Rachna looks at it, where are we in context to the policy that is set, and what future efforts or dimensions we at Manav Rachna plan that we are going to bring in, because Manavrachna, parents agree, is a very, very progressive and forward-looking organization. And the management is always proactive, thinking about what has to come tomorrow should come into the system today. So keeping that in mind and taking your viewpoints and consultations, will move forward. So this is the first slide that I have put for you, which says, National Education Policy 2020 and Manavrachna schools. And the two lines that I put in here is aligned with aspirational goals of 21st century while remaining consistent with India's traditions and value system. This is the essence of our policy. Let us give, kind of wings to fly as high as the children can. But at the same time, you shouldn't forget your roots. You need to know your country. You need to be proud of your country. And, this is something which has come in looking at the entire scenario world around. That unless I have a pride for my country, what kind of citizen I'm going to be of the world, which we all talk about today. So let us, walk through. Yes, next slide, please. So looking at this policy has come to us after 34 years. The first was in 1986 with some amendment happening in 1992. And then some very good thing happening in 2009, which brought in right to education, which said that, the children from 6 to 14 years of age have right to education. So that means free and compulsory education for this age group, grade 1 to grade 8. But now this policy, which has come in 2020, says that right to education right from 3 years to 18 years. So that means it is covering the complete spectrum of pre-nursery to grade 12th. So it talks about that right to education, which is a new thing added to this policy. Next, please. Yeah. So if I look at these principles, which I think are of interest to us all as educationists and to you as parents, and most of us will be finding that they resonate with, or they are a reflection of what all we are looking at into a school system presently. So it talks about multidisciplinary approach. So this is something very, very important, which has been put strongly by the entire policy. Says that do not put the subjects into compartments. Let us integrate these subjects and develop concepts so that the children, because the little child, if I relate it to ECCE and the foundation, the children do not see the world as in fragments. The children see the world as a whole. And that is, based on this only, when you look at our ECCE program, which the principals will be bringing out later, is concept driven, which takes into consideration all faculties of a child. And then, of course, the 21st century skills, because we understand that the children who are being prepared today in schools may be getting into the job market maybe after 20 years from now. So we are all quite uncertain about what skills will be required at that time. But we are very, very sure that the human skills which have survived all these years, your collaboration, your critical thinking, problem solving, good communication, critical thinking, all these skills, if they are in place, so you can adjust yourself, adapt to any kind of an environment. So this is, I think, and holistic development of children. So it is, with children as parents also, I think we, and the educationists also, we need to understand that today we are not talking about the content, what to learn, but we are focusing on how to learn. This triggering children, putting them on a trajectory, how to learn. So if they become good learners, so learning to learn is a big skill which the children should have. Everything, knowledge and information is available today at the click of a mouse to everyone. But how to sift through, what to find, what to focus on, that's the skill we need to invest in right from the beginning, whether it is ECCE, foundation stage, moving till the grade 12 stage. Now this one, next one, promoting multilingualism and the power of language is something very important which has come into this policy. Earlier, we all know that we had a 3-language formula in the middle school and then languages chosen. So multilingualism, when we talk about it, is, I'll say that, they say that there's no limit to language learning so far as children are concerned. So as many languages that the child can be exposed to should be given to him. Grade 6, 7th, 8th, again, the children should, understand the bouquet of languages that India has. Because India, we understand it's a linguistic country. You have a lot of languages here, but one point is there that all our languages have some kind of commonality in them, maybe their structure, their alphabet or their genesis from each other. So this will, bring in better connectivity and connectedness in the people in the country and add to national integration. With that something in mind, the policy drafters has said that as many languages and the language the child is comfortable with the consultation with the parents, think about, exposing. and our own classical language like Sanskrit. Hindi, of course, is there, and the other languages that are there. If we can, it's not for testing and examination purpose they're talking about these languages, but the exposure of children to various languages so that they can appreciate, enjoy the, the rich culture and the rich, you can say, writings and literature created in different languages. So that is multilingualism coming in. Full equity and inclusion, every child should be part of the system. Synergy in curriculum again says that we need to integrate our subjects. And if you're all familiar with that, Manav Rachna has all 7 areas of learning where you talk about your literacy, numeracy, sports and well-being. And then we talk about life skills. We talk about visual arts, performing arts, even the sustainable development based goals are being taken care of. Earlier when we say there's a big project that children are working on. So this, our own curriculum makes it a very wholesome kind of curriculum for children, which is very well reflected. We see in the education policy in that is, we had a consultation with somebody from NCERT who has worked with NCERT for 20 years. And that lady, when she saw all this, she said that your schools are already much ahead of what we are looking at in the policy, because the policy is for everyone in the country, the remote areas of the country, the tribal areas in the country where the children are deprived of everything. They haven't been to any play school ever. And that is what brings in the gap. So school like us, schools who already are progressive in nature, should think about how can we make it better with things and with almost everything already happening in the curriculum. So I think everybody will agree with me, the principals and everyone, that all those things that we are seeing here, we feel very happy and delighted. As Nandini had said, the teachers, feel good that we are already doing jo policy mein likha hai, hum kafi kuch kar rahe hain usme se. Next please. And then, so far as assessment and the examination is concerned, this will be again talked about by one of the panelists, but this is mostly talking about formative assessment, continuous professional development, which is very strongly happening with us, that we put in more than 100 hours of training with our teachers every session, and it's a very planned affair centrally. Contemporary subjects like artificial intelligence, design thinking, holistic health, organic living, environmental education, global citizenship. So there are many things which are already there, but there are certain areas which will highlight in my last slide that this is what we are going to add in the coming years. Emerging innovation through autonomy, good governance, empowerment, outstanding reach. And the next one is very important here, which says no hard separation between art, science, curricular and co-curricular activities. And if I, kind of talk about the curriculum at this stage that we're going to discuss about here is, again, it's everything put into one plate, put into one bouquet, keeping in mind the multiple intelligences that children have, the multisensory approach that you need to bring in. That is how a wholesome curriculum is prepared at these 2 stages, which is ECC and the grades 1 and 2, which together now is asking for foundation stage. Ethics, human constitution values, and flexibility, so that we are child-centered. So it's report cards you get a comprehensive one, every child's progress you come to see. So this all I just wanted to discuss, that you people can again revise what all Manav Rachna is doing for your child and check us on that this is what you have written is not happening, you need to bring it in. So we're inviting those kind of suggestions also from you. Next please. Now this is, we see the difference that has been brought in by the National Education Policy. The current system says 10+2 system, we are all aware of. It was a 12-year spectrum of school education. But now if I look to the second one, which is asking about 3+2, that is 3 years of preschooling, which we already have in place, your toddlers, nursery, KG. So that means pre-nursery, nursery and KG. And then 2 years is grades 1 and 2. That makes it 5 years of foundation stage that we have with us. And then we talk about 3 years of preparatory. Now this is grade 3, 4 and 5. Then comes the next stage, which is middle school. 6 to 8 forms the middle school. And here's a change again in the 4th stage, which is talking about 9 to 12, which is called high school stage or secondary school stage, which is again broken into 2, 9th and 10th, 11th and 12th. So that is how the number of years to be put in a school now, from 12 to 15. ये जो 5 साल नीचे दिख रहे हैं हमें, 3 साल का प्री स्कूलिंग एंड ग्रेड्स 1 एंड 2 को साथ में मिला दिया गया है, ताकि हमारा जो है ना एक सीमलेस सेम काइंड ऑफ अप्रोच ऊपर ग्रेड्स 1 एंड 2 तक चले. बिकॉज मोस्ट ऑफ द पेरेंट्स, अगर आप ग्रेड 1 के पेरेंट्स हैं तो हम सभी एक्सपीरियंस करते हैं कि जब 1 में बच्चा आता है तो कुछ टीजिंग प्रॉब्लम्स आती हैं बिकॉज मेथोडोलॉजी बदल जाती है. तो अब ये कोशिश की जाएगी कि टिल ग्रेड 2 वी गो फॉर ए सीमलेस मेथोडोलॉजी, or in consistency the curriculum is taken, so that the children move comfortably upwards. Next, please. And this is ECC 3 to 6, and then preparatory, experiential learning, and activity-based subjects. So this all talks about what is going to happen during these 5 years of learning. Middle stage में थोड़ा change जाके आएगा, where you know नीचे पूरा आपका concrete experiential रहता है, but when it moves to 6 to 8, 11 to 14 years of age, तो इसमें abstract concepts आ जाएंगे, subjects आ जाएंगे, divisions आ जाएंगी, but still experiential learning is there. That means your edu trips will happen, labs will happen, the children taken to various places, demonstration will happen, experimentation will happen, exploration will happen. So very much aligned with how the subjects are approached with us. Interdisciplinary exploration, so that means कि बच्चे जब project work करेंगे तो एक ही subject का ना करके it will be integrated projects made taking into consideration all subjects. Vocational education grade 6 onwards में has been brought in now, which was not there earlier, but still we at Manorachna had our skill labs in place, so our children were always learning a lot of carpentry, electricals, electronics, and in the maker shala that we had, that the children were exposed to these kind of vocational and you can say that work experience courses and the skill courses. So multi-language project they're talking about. So of course it will be 3 languages, 2 Indian languages and 1 more language. But एक मल्टी लैंग्वेजेस पे बच्चे प्रोजेक्ट करेंगे 3 साल में से किसी भी एक साल में एक बारी प्रोजेक्ट करना है जहां मैक्सिमम लैंग्वेजेस की बात वो करें, so that they're exposed to all kinds of languages that are available in India. 9th and 10th, again it includes 2 stages, 9th and 10th, 11th and 12th. So wide range of subjects to choose from, no separation. So pehle I think all of us have grown with this. There is a science stream, there's a commerce stream, there's a humanities stream, and the children, you know, feeling kind of pressures. कि मैं कौन सी stream में हूँ, I have to go into medical, and a lot of pressures coming from the parent side as well. That you should go in for this, you should go in for this. But now it has all been relaxed. Children will be offered a bouquet of subjects and they can choose any subject out of it. So that means बायोलॉजी के साथ आप ज्योग्राफी पढ़ सकते हैं, आप हिस्ट्री पढ़ सकते हैं, आप लैंग्वेज कोई भी आगे तक 12th तक लेके जा सकते हैं, फॉरेन लैंग्वेज पढ़ सकते हैं. सो एज मैनी सब्जेक्ट्स एज अ स्कूल कैन अफोर्ड टू अकोमोडेट, उनका एक ज्यादा सब्जेक्ट्स बच्चों को, और हार्ड लाइंस नहीं है, देयर आर नो हार्ड लाइंस ऑफ streams. Children are open to choose and then move forward with their selection of subjects. Find out further higher education भी आगे जाके ऐसे ही align होगा, because वहाँ पे भी they are not putting into, you know, BCom or BA or BCA. They are again going to call it graduation. So graduation will mean graduation, maybe any subjects that children go in for. So it's very well aligned with the higher education as well. Now multilingualism and the power of language is something very importantly brought out in our policy, which says that, you know, mother tongue to be medium of instruction till grade 5 wherever possible. So children to be exposed to more than 2 languages. So very, you know, thoughtfully they have put it that wherever possible. So whatever language you feel the child is going to learn in better, because some of us has this apprehension कि क्या इंग्लिश मीडियम स्कूल हिंदी मीडियम हो जाएंगे, या किताबें हिंदी में होंगी या किताबें पंजाबी में होंगी. There are many questions which the, you know, parents have when I asked for questions. So this we have to clearly see that it is just a policy that has come in. So a lot of deliberations are yet to go, and they are no way imposing any language on anybody. They're saying wherever possible. So whatever, you know, it has to be consulted with the parents as well, and the general opinion that you have here, that what is it that the child is comfortable taking as the medium of instruction. So we have to understand that the thought here is of exposing children to many languages. Then languages of India, fun project. Then Sanskrit, definitely we are looking into making it available for all children, because it is interesting as well, and it has definitely vanished. So it needs to be brought back. It will be available in our schools as well. So far as assessment is concerned, I'll talk it across, particularly ECCE and the foundation, I think will be discussed by one of our principals here. So I will simply say that mostly the focus is on formative assessment, and I think parents very well understand that formative assessment means assessment for learning. That means कि आपने बच्चे को एक task दिया, उसने जो किया उसके बारे में, then you give a feedback to the child that this is what you have done well, this area you need to work on, make your action plan and come up with that. And based on that feedback, the child performs, gets better, and again he is tested on. So it is meant for learning, for getting better with the concepts. So instead of summative, it is focused on formative more. And the exams, they say that competency and skills to be assessed in grades 3, 5, and 8, in addition to 10th and 12th. So let us see how it works with the state and center and what comes to us, because NCERT is going to make a complete framework and there are national agencies which are going to pitch in. So it is too early to say as to what kind of examinations they'll be suggesting. So as suggestions, we'll be looking at this. But so far as we are concerned, we have a very comprehensive assessment system in place. So definitely it is a great movement from competency to skill. Rote memorization is completely discouraged. Excessive examination and coaching is discouraged. Easier board will be held twice a year. Testing will be objective and descriptive. And that too, as you look at the Western world, there are two kinds of paper coming to students. One is standard and one is advanced. The children can take it as per their own competency level, their own preparedness. And then a lot of support to be provided to gifted students and students with talents. And these are national agencies they're talking about. There will be PARAK, there will be NACSC, that is National Assessment Center for School Education. Accreditation will come in place. Achievements will be looked at. Olympiads will be organized for students. So there's all we can think about in the good education system, which takes our system very near to the best practices in the global education world. That is what the whole effort is at. So now I think more or less we are clear with the common features of the policy. And so far as Manavrachna is concerned, I would just like to put in these few points that we already have skill development as part of curriculum, which is talking about vocational education, and then portfolios are being prepared by students. Sustainability goals are in place. The children are working on them, but in this session we thought that we'll be aligning all these goals to NGOs to take it further. Content will be, so far as one or two questions I got from the parents, will the content be re-looked into? Reduction of content policy talks about. So we will definitely be re-looking into as per the NCERT guidelines. And so far as our own CREST is concerned at this level, ECC and foundation, because there are three areas focused. One is literacy, numeracy. Second thing talks about self and society, knowing about the world around, knowing about yourself and knowing about society. That is how CREST had come into picture, which talked about reasoning, exploration, skilling, technology. But we'll definitely look at it that content-wise, how we can reduce that, and the children learn in depth and learn with complete clarity about the concepts that are put in place. So that will be looked into, right? And we'll be adding these future skills called coding, artificial intelligence, machine learning, agri, and many more vocational areas. So this is all a brief I wanted to discuss, and I think some clarity we have got how the policy takes and where are we here. And now I think I'll put it over to Nandini to bring every panelist into it, where we focus on the ECCE and foundation stage in particular and know more about what they have to say about the practices in this particular learning stage. Over to you, Nandini. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening.
So much, ma'am. There were a lot of takeaways from this, I'm sure, for the teachers as well as for the parents, talking about the multidisciplinary or the interdisciplinary approach, the holistic development of children, whether it was moving from the 3-language formula to multilingualism, or the skills required for a 21st century learner. Thank you for sharing the highlights of the National Education Policy 2020 with all of us. And like you rightly said, ma'am, early years and foundation stage play a significant role in the educational ladder of a child. And the way the curriculum is designed and how it is delivered makes all the difference. Like you mentioned, the curriculum at Manavrachna International Schools is all-inclusive and is spread across the 7 learning domains, those of language and literacy, numeracy, CREST, which is conceptual learning through reasoning, exploration, skilling, and technology, life skills, performing arts, visual arts, sports and well-being. And the wonderful aspect of the curriculum at Manavrachna is that teaching learning across all these 7 learning domains does not happen in silos, right? Rather, it is integrated across all the learning domains through the pedagogy of learning through play, which emphasizes on experiential learning, which is also very clearly mentioned in NEP 2020. And with that, I now invite Ms. Alpana Baveja, Principal MRIS 51 Gurugram, to share about the curriculum and the pedagogical practices in ECCE and foundation stage.
Thank you, Nandini. Good evening to all my co-panelists and dear parents. Thank you, Sayogita ma'am, for highlighting the various aspects of NEP 2020. As we all are aware that 85% of a child's cumulative brain development takes place up to the age of 6 years. NEP recognizes the critical importance of providing care and stimulation of the brain in these formative years. Significant changes have been introduced in the curriculum and pedagogy to address the aspects and to ensure optical brain development and growth of the young ones. NEP 2020 suggests that ECCE should focus on foundational literacy and numeracy, generally on reading, writing, speaking, arithmetic, and mathematical thinking. It also emphasizes on life skills like social capacities, good behavior, ethics, teamwork, and cooperation. And I think we all understand what is the power of collaboration today. So besides the numeracy and literacy skills, the NAP also focuses on developing the social and emotional skills in the kids. And I think we all have seen, especially during these pertinent times, when these social skills have really played a pivotal role. As parents and educators, we understand that grade 1 is an important milestone in the learning curve. I also would like to reiterate here, like Sayogita ma'am said, that grade 1 is, again a shift from the early years. And this is one place where a lot of focus is required. And so the policy makers, they realized, and that is why today they have brought these 3 early years into the formal education. As till now, there was no formal or prescribed framework for preparing the children for this level. While the progressive schools like ours, we were already having a beautiful curriculum in place, and I'm sure all the parents out there will agree that Manav Rachna has a wonderful child-centric early year curriculum. So in this regard, a national curricular and pedagogical framework for ECCE is to be developed by NCERT. So it will be a body which will develop a proper, guidelines will be developed and shared with the schools. And this will include sub-framework for 0 to 3 years and 5 to 8 years. Now this framework will serve as a guide for both the parents as well as the ECCE institutions. So moving on to my next slide. In traditional education curriculum, is the content one teaches while pedagogy is seen as the way in which, it is being taught. Thus, curriculum and pedagogy, they blend together. NEP 2020 recommends that the learning in the foundational years has to be holistic, integrated, enjoyable, and engaging. Now, the aim of the education will not only be cognitive development, but also building the character and creating holistic, well-rounded individuals equipped with the 21st century skills. Sayokta ma'am also mentioned that NEP is focusing, on 2 aspects. One is child-centric approach and 2 is the roots, the values, the system, the culture. And if you see, it is very, very pertinent in today's times. They also suggest that the preparatory stage should comprise of 3 years of education, building on play, discovery, activity-based pedagogical and curricular style. As learning continues with this pedagogy, light textbooks with reduced curriculum will be introduced to the kids. The kids will also have formal but an interactive learning classrooms. So the key overall thrust of curriculum and pedagogy reform will be to move to the education system towards real understanding and towards learning how to learn and rightfully away from the culture of rote learning. I think we have been hearing this, away from rote learning. But yes, the good part is that NEP has also, all the policy makers have realized this. And I'm sure in the latest guidelines, there will be a lot of things which will be covered and guided as to how we have to go ahead. So the curricular frameworks will be developed to ensure that the skills, values are imbibed through an engaging process of teaching and learning. When we look at these recommendations, We all, as educators, as parents, we can proudly say that curriculum at Manav Rachna institutions is integrated, challenging, and comprehensive with global dimensions that accommodates diverse learning needs of students, makes teaching learning a joyful experience for students and teachers. Lots of opportunities for our children integrated with the co-curricular activities. So the teaching learning process is interactive and a conscious effort is made to integrate subjects, thus helping children to move from the known and explore the unknown. So we at MRIS believe in creating happy, lifelong learners, and the NEP is also emphasizing on the same. I would also like to mention here that it gives, immense pleasure when parents tell that children don't want to take a single day off. And it is very heartening to see that these policy makers have realized this, and all the government schools will also have such culture where these children, they will also not be neglected and they'll have a beautiful exposure. So moving on to my third slide, we will all agree that the recent times have highlighted the need for learners who can, adapt to the changing times, because change is inevitable, but change is important. So therefore, NEP focuses on reducing the formal academic content and focusing on enhancing essential learning as well as promoting critical thinking. The MRIS curriculum gives due importance to inquiry-based, discovery-based, discussion-based, and analysis-based learning. So we have a large number of activities, a large number of opportunities, which go a long way in enhancing their learning in multiple ways. Because all we want our children to be confident learners. We have to instill the love for learning, and we have to provide loads and loads of opportunities to them, and they have to be free to express. So we all have regular life skill and soft skill sessions at MRIS, and we aim at enhancing the social and emotional quotients in the kids. Classes are very interactive and enhances and fosters their thinking. So NIP looks at moving away from the rote learning and developing their holistic understanding of concepts, applications, and problem solving skills. We all understand the importance of these critical and analytical skills today. So when NEP has rightfully included these aspects in the ECC curriculum, our teams at MRIS are also working to further enrich the syllabus to take it to the next level. So all I would like to share here is a beautiful quote which states that we should provide two things to our children. One is the roots and the other is the wings. Roots to have a strong foundation as well as strong values, and wings to have their own aspirations as well as the courage and skills to go out and realize one's dreams and aspirations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alpana ma'am. Mentioning about the formative years of the children, whether it was regarding foundational literacy and numeracy or life skills, or the child-centric approach, play-based, discovery-based, inquiry-based learning, and interactive classes moving away from rote learning. I think you've beautifully explained the concept of curriculum and pedagogy in the foundation stages. Thank you so much, Alpana ma'am. And with that, I would now like to invite Sanyogita ma'am again to moderate with all the principals for the other areas of discussion and interaction. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nandini. I think we have all the 8 principles available here, out of which Alpana ma'am has already spoken about the most important area, which is talking about curriculum and pedagogical practices, putting it in place. So we'll look at the other aspects, which the first one which comes to everybody's mind is that play-based learning is very, very important when ECC and foundation stage, and NEP in big way talks about that play is something serious learning for children. So I'll request Mamta ma'am to let us know more how important is play in ECC and the foundation stage. Mamta ma'am, please.
Thank you, ma'am, and a very good evening to all the parents and all the teachers and my esteemed panelists here. I think it's a wonderful session, and can see approximately 500 people attending the session, and that is extremely encouraging for all of us here at Manav Rachna. Thank you everybody for joining in. And Tina, can you please share my presentation? What I'm going to talk about is something extremely important, and that is play-based learning. And as we talk today about the big shift in early learning, that is with NEP, because in all the previous education policies, they always talked about the senior classes, and this is the first time that we've had the early learning coming in. And like Mrs. Sharma said, that the key thrust behind the curriculum and the pedagogical structuring across all stages is to move away from traditional rote learning method and to go from real understanding to how to learn and how to think. Yes, that is extremely important. And I'm so glad that at MRIS here, all of us have always followed an informal, flexible, multi-level and play-based approach to learning. And that is so very important. And as we move on to our next slide, we see that what is play. And as Fred Rogers says, that play is often talked about as if it were a relief from serious learning. But for children, play is serious learning. Play is really the work of childhood. So rightly said, play for them is actually serious business. And we all at Manav Rachna absolutely agree to this. And the impulse to play comes from an innate desire to understand the world. And for children, play is as important as eating, as drinking, as sleeping, and play is extremely important to them. Now, as we move on, and we understand what is play-based learning, we move on to our third slide, where we say, what is play-based learning? And what a lovely picture. Look at all these lovely toddlers from Manav Rachna. And you can see that they are playing and learning at the same time. It is such a happy moment for the teachers, for the parents, as well as for the children. And this is what is play-based learning. As we actually go on to understand in our next slide, what is play-based learning, I would like to talk about the guided play and the free play. Now, when we talk of play, play can be of two types. It can be guided, it can be free. So when it is guided, it is structured, it is planned beforehand, it is tailor-made, and it is age appropriate, and it aims at a specific learning goal. So that is how we go about a guided play. Whereas when we talk about free play, it is something that a child chooses to do, and they want to choose what they want to play and how they want to go about it. So whether it is guided play or whether it is free play, both of them are extremely important and children love to do both. So whether it's outdoor play, whether it's indoor play, whether it's dramatic play, role play, make-believe play, sensory play, they play on the floor, or anything else. You can see from the next slide, we have some lovely pictures of our children, and here you can see the children doing outdoor play. They are so happy here. You can see dramatic and make-believe play. We all remember playing Ghar Ghar, Doctor Doctor, becoming a fireman or policeman. And look at all these children. The pictures say it all. They are so happy. The indoor play or the tabletop plays, you can see how they are doing it. The floor play, the children are sitting with the dominoes, with the numbers and on the mats, and it is so creative. So, there are so many forms of play. It's construction play, it's tabletop play, it's floor play, it's a sand and water play, and it's they play with the Play-Doh, they play with clay. So they have so many ways of playing, and all these are extremely, extremely important. When we see our children playing and learning so happily, I think this is one zone which I always say is the happy zone in our schools, because we can see learning and, playing happening at the same time. As we move on, we see what is this play leading to, and how is it so important. So we can see that when children are playing, it leads to their cognitive development. They are learning their literacy and language skills. They're learning numeracy skills. They're learning to honing their problem solving skills. They're learning motivation, curiosity. They're learning to be inquisitive. They have a lot of physical development, and you can see they practice fine and gross motor skills at the same time. They build muscles and coordination, and they grow through a variety of tactile experiences. We can see a lot of social and emotional development happening. They build friendships, they fight with each other, they resolve their conflicts, which is so important. It is such an important aspect of growing up when children learn to do all this. And they become confident when they do all this. So to become a well-rounded personality, I think play is something where they all learn to win, they all learn to lose, and they all learn to, grow up with each other, and they grow up fantastically. Some beautiful play activities that we do, are the development of their senses, which we call the sensory play. And my favorite is the popcorn activity, where they do the popcorn activity with the microwaves, and they can, all their senses, they experience all of them at the same time. They can hear the popcorns pop, they taste them, they see them, they smell them, they feel them. And so all the senses, and this is not only one activity, they have so many other tactile experiences. They will learn to write with talcum powder. And we encourage children to do these activities at home as well. We encourage our parents to take up these activities at home as well. So we are all at par. We are all in sync with, what is happening in school and what is happening at home. So it is extremely, extremely important that we do not undermine the importance of play. As we move on to our next slide, I would like to say that play is fun. And until and unless something is fun, learning doesn't happen. Not at this age, if children are happy, they learn the best. And play for children is spontaneous. It's not scripted. You cannot write down, what will happen next. They play and they learn at the same time. Hence, the sense of unknown, provides them with flexibility in thinking, which is a very vital life skill. So that is something they learn, and play is enjoyable. It has an emotional response attached to it. So when they have emotional response attached, and it is simply without the emotional experience, it is simply an activity. It's not an experience. So once the play gets emotional, then, it becomes a great experience. And the end result is that it's fun. And once play is fun, learning is fun. So that is what we all aim to bring in our schools. Lot of learning, lot of fun, and happy children. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Mamta ma'am. आपने सबको हमको ना ऐसा कर दिया है कि हम भी जाके फटाक से खेलना शुरू कर दें. It was so tempting. It was so inviting for all of us, and it is said that there's a child in everybody, so you all feel like going back. And as the education minister was saying yesterday, that when he talks about this policy, most of the parents say that why did you not come earlier and why this policy was not in place. So, and it is happening, generally with our parents in schools, whoever come and sees the school and the activities, they say कि हम जब छोटे थे तो ऐसा नहीं कुछ होता था. So all of us go back into that, and it is so, so much lovely to have all these activities. But one thing I would like to say, that this particular topic of ECC and foundation stage is so close to our heart that whenever we are speaking, we get carried away, and there's so much to speak and so much to say. But we also have to keep in mind that this session is 1.5 hour, 90-minute session. So we'll all restrict to our, time frames. So everybody takes 5 minutes and put forward your ideas during that time, so that we have some questions also which the parents have already forwarded. which we can all together address and answer. So thank you so much, Mamta ma'am. So here, the most talked about point is multilingualism and the power of language. So I'd like to bring Seema Anis, Madam Principal, Manrachna 21C in, and let us know what does the NEP says about it and what is it that you would like to ease the parents out regarding this particular area of discussion. Seema ma'am, please.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, my colleagues over here, seniors, and of course, parents.
Little louder, Seema.
Okay, is it clearer?
Yes.
Okay. A very good evening, everybody. My colleagues over here, my seniors, and the parents. When I was going through multilingualism aspect of the new education policy, the first time I read it, I was a little confused. And so I went back and read it again. And I was trying to understand as to how do I make it simpler for you to understand. And then while I was doing that yesterday, I came across the news of a huge loss in the field of the world of music. Mr. Subramaniam, I'm sure all of us know about it. And then what struck me was, because I am a big music enthusiast, so for me it was a big, big loss. And immediately what came to my mind was one of his interviews where he was being praised, and the interviewer was saying that he's the person who has sung over 40,000 songs in 16 different languages. And he stops the person and says, just a minute, sir, not 16 languages, just one language, and that language was music. So, that immediately brought in clarity in my mind about multilingualism. It is actually, when we're talking about multilingualism, it is not about, the content being taught in Hindi or Telugu or Marathi or English. It is actually the language of learning, that one single language, whichever language the child feels comfortable to learn in. And that is how then I'll explain to you the various aspects of multilingualism that's there in the new education policy. Many of it has already been mentioned, like Mrs. Mamta was mentioning about cognitive development and psychomotor learning. If we take that in collaboration, it is thinking, exploring, and figuring out things. Now, when we talk about all these things, it is of course language that through which children are going to do that. Right on top, it says medium until grade 5, but preferably till grade 8 should be home mother tongue local language. However, what is to be brought into notice over here is wherever possible, and that is what the education minister, it says HRD because that's what it used to be called earlier. And that's again another change, that he's education minister now. So wherever possible, this is going to be implemented. And like Mrs. Sayogita has already mentioned while she was speaking with us, that it will be done in consultation with the students' interest, the parents' opinion, and of course the institution in being. So a lot of clarity over that. Then multilingualism to be pushed at age of 2 to 8 years. Teaching process of languages should be enjoyable, interactive, a lot of conversation, plenty of reading, followed by writing. Now, when we're talking about all this, all that fun that Mrs. Mamta was talking about, the play-based learning, all of this is the same thing, just that it is in context with language now. And initially, I still remember in convents, it used to be said that you have to think in English, you have to think in English. But that to quite an extent has already been, diluted now. And the importance, significance, and value of being bilingual has come into being. This last evening, when we were discussing, Mrs. Sayugta pointed this out, that the bilingualism, when we talk about a child learning 2 languages, and they say that a child till the age of 6 itself can learn at least 5 languages. So it makes him or her a much better thinker, and it is all about inquisitiveness in knowledge and inquisitiveness in learning. So I'm sure this introduction of multilingualism is going to bring in an added feature into our curriculum. Reading and writing of other 2 languages to start in class 3 and beyond. All language of learning to be aimed to be experiential through art, music, poetry, and theater, which already to some extent we are doing it at Manav Rachna. I'm sure you know it as Manav Rachna parents, and there are some things which we need to adopt, because, and that's a good sign, because if we don't have anything to adopt, then we are just where we are. We always should have something to look forward to work upon, so that it keeps us enthused. The next slide, please, Tina.
Yeah, and we will briefly touch upon Seema so that we move on to the next area.
We talk about students whose medium of instruction is, we talk about the medium of instruction, and we've already spoken about that earlier, so that we don't need to go into detail about that. Then we talk about relevance and beauty of classical languages of India to be brought out, which again Mrs. Sayogita has spoken about, so I will not repeat that. That's Sanskrit, and through classical languages and vernacular languages and local languages, all that is being brought into being is that, the philosophy behind that, the grammar used, the architecture, the metallurgy, the drama, poetry, and of course storytelling. So all that, when we put it together, of course it is a much, much more enriched capsule of learning that happens. Next, please, Tina. Then we talk about teaching of classical Indian languages to be available, which I already spoke about. All students to be given an option of learning at least 2 years of classical languages. Then use of technology and experiential learning. Again, experiential learning has been spoken about by Mrs. Mamta, so I will not repeat that. We come over here to an aspect which we are already doing apart from Indian languages and English. We can offer other international languages like Korean, Japanese, Thai, French, German, Spanish, and Russian, out of which French, German, Spanish is already on our campuses. Maybe we could have a couple of more in the coming years. Next, please. And of course, sign language has been brought into being, which is again a very, very healthy aspect of the curriculum. So looking forward to that. And this is the spectrum spread across for all the aspects, all the angles of the new education, particularly multilingualism, where language plays a vital role. And the 4 skills that are into being, I would just conclude with those 4 skills. All of us know about those 4 skills. That's listening, speaking, reading, and writing. But we usually forget to mention the 5th, which is the most important one, and that is thinking. Unless we think, all these 4 skills cannot be meaningful. So it is actually those 5 skills, and multilingualism is going to add to these 5 skills, 5 basic skills of language. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Seema. Thank you so much discussing in detail about the language development in children. But I think the parents also have most of the questions put around these areas only. Nandini, do we have any question on multilingualism or language from the parent side?
Yes, ma'am, we do.
Please ask any question if we have here.
Sure, ma'am.
Yeah.
It says, what about kids whose parents are in transferable jobs? How can their medium of instruction be the local language? Kindly help me understand this.
Yeah, this is something, very, very complex question. And this comes into the minds of all the parents because, in the beginning only I said this is a policy draft. It is giving you guidelines. It is not implementable as it is as of now. So we'll have many discussions. We had the state level discussion again on the same point with the people from the state level education department. And what they said was कि local language vernacular की जब हम बात करते हैं तो अभी तो define होनी है कि local में हम कौन सी language लेंगे. Local में भी कई तरह की भाषाएं हैं. अगर हम एक state की बात करते हैं तो एक state में भी कोई एक ही भाषा नहीं बोली जाती है. For example, if I talk about Haryana only, हरियाणवी भी बोलते हैं, हिंदी भी है, यहाँ उर्दू भी बोली जा रही है, पंजाबी वाले भी हैं. तो कौन सी language को हम state language मानेंगे? So that is how there's a lot of discussion going on this language area, and this question is very, very important for this group of parents who are transferable. And I hope the decision will be taken on this rightfully by the suggestions that will come from parents, because this is one of the questions posed, which is a very, very valid question. And plus one, NEP is not imposing any language anywhere. This is what we all parents and teachers have to understand. कि वो ये नहीं कह रहे हैं कि आपको इसी माध्यम में पढ़ाना है, इसी मीडियम में पढ़ाना है और यही लैंग्वेजेस पढ़ानी है. They are leaving it open. So we can have it, taken in the next level discussion when the state consults and micro level discussions are happening. So I don't think the NEP puts the parents or to anybody to any kind of discomfort or inconvenience. Thank you, Nandini. And we move on to now, we'll take another question which Nandini will give to us, comes from the parents. So parents can write their questions in the chat box. So we have here Taruna madam. I very briefly, because Mamta ma'am has discussed about play-based, I would like you to be, because you're a very enthusiastic supporter of experiential learning. So if you could share some of the pictures of your school where experiential learning is happening and how you promote that. Yes, please. Taruna ma'am from MRS Mohali, Principal MRS Mohali. Taruna ma'am, unmute yourself, please.
Sorry. Am I audible now?
Yes.
So yes, you said, ma'am, I'll keep a tab on the time also, because most of it has already been discussed, and experiential learning is actually the underlying aspect of the whole pedagogy that Manav Rachna follows. Yes. So quickly, I'll take you through this. What you see is again beautiful two pictures. Learning is fun because we experience it, we relate to it, it stays with us, becomes my knowledge.
Yes.
The first slide, please. Quickly before, yes, Tina ma'am, you can please move on. Till we go to the next slide. Yes, I want you all to imagine a classroom where a teacher is teaching to 30 children. All students are exposed to the same teacher, same lesson, everything. But do we find all children at par in that lesson, in that their learning level? Teacher is same, teaching content is same, the style is same, pedagogy is same, all principles are same. It doesn't happen, because learning happens when age appropriate opportunities environment is created, which creates the need to learn. This need which is created helps the child to develop interest in learning by inferring meaning based on his previous knowledge and experience. So when we say teaching, so does teaching means learning? For me, teaching does not ensure learning. Teaching is reaching children. So how do we reach them is what I'm going to say next. Next, please. Yes. So how do children learn? You can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make it drink. You are sending your child to school. We are taking them. All precautions, all necessary measures are made. Teacher is very vigilant, asking all questions. But are we still ensuring learning? Because basically what the child is learning is based on his own knowledge. So what he creates, his own knowledge, is what he learns right from day one. As we all know, learning happens right from age 0. Learning happens when neurons, there is an interaction, there is a learning connect between the neurons. And neuroscience says the learning begins right from 0, the moment the child is born. Even during pregnancy, the parents say that the doctor says that it happens. So this learning which happens without teachers, we are not there. Teachers are not making learning happen. It is the child who is responsible to create and construct his own knowledge. So we have to support the child who's coming to us at the age of 3. As per neuroscience, more than 80% of his brain is already developed. See the steep increase, the steep development which is there. We've already missed it if we have not given anything to that child. And by 7, they say more than 80%, 80, 85, 90% is done. Previous, please. I'll start with the examples. Tina, the previous slide, please. Yes, so I'll just speak a moment more. So when we have to help the child as a parent, now because we have the parents on board, as a parent, we have to help the child to create his own knowledge, because anything coming on his knowledge for him to accept, to understand, will be what he already knows. So this is what we have to work. So basically, we broadly say it is dependent on heredity, that is what the child is born with, his genes, and the environment. Environment is important. Before the child comes to school, it is what the parents, what kind of exposure the parents give. That is why when we see even 2.5 or 3 years old coming to us, they are so different from each other because they have their different learning environment. Obviously, genes are different, but the environment is also different. So our responsibility is to bridge that gap wherever children are coming from the environment, from the families where that kind of environment is not there, building up, helping the child enhance or construct his own knowledge. Otherwise, what as teachers do we feel? We feel that we create and construct child's knowledge. If we as teachers are doing it, then everybody should be at the same level. There should not be any disparity. But the levels are different because they are building upon their own knowledge. Right? So beautifully, I mean, ma'am gave beautiful that play, covering all, encompassing all learning domains. Mamta ma'am, beautifully, Alpana ma'am clearly explained all those facts, you know, what NEP says. I just wanted to, because it is experiential, so I will not show much slides, but I would like to show how children here in Manav Rachna they do. I have from my school, I would like to show now some pictures which take care of everything. Now this is beautifully, if you see this, but first picture is telling about what the skeletal system does. So it's a Play-Doh activity. Can you see those sticks? Now the child now learns that how the skeletal system gives shape to a thing. So this is, it's again earlier, nursery and KG. So it's how you do it that the mentors have done and we have been through, the teachers have been through. Now we are managing everything so beautifully virtually also. So this is language and literacy. Can I have the next, please, Tina? Yes, the big project. Now this is important. Something very important, that this particular left side, the girl is creating paper, you know, soaking them and then creating that handmade paper herself. These papers were done, dried, and then they were used for drawing. This young boy is showing you water harvesting, save water. So this is a complete picture, if you see. So this is, I mean, you can do anything. Let the child experience what he wants to learn. Let him build on what he already knows. So learning has to be from simple to complex, from concrete to abstract, as ma'am said. So this learning, experiential learning, not only stays in Manav Rachana in early years or formative years. Experiential learning goes even in 9th and 10th when we say it's learning by doing. Science, anything that you want to teach to the child, take him to the lab. The skill lab that we were talking about. So beautifully, it's again, fortunately seeing that what NEP now talks about, we are already doing it. Again, that doesn't bring any complacency, but yes, we should be humble and move forward with something more to learn. What Seema said, we should look forward to certain things. So that's all. Thank you so much. So again, ma'am said, very great advocate of experiential learning. Let the children learn and experience their own learning and build upon that. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Taruna Madam, for bringing it out so beautifully, bringing out the constructivist theory that the children construct their knowledge. It's not the teachers making it or the parents creating. It is constructed by the children themselves. आप सिर्फ situations provide करें, उनका जो understanding है, जो prior knowledge है, वो अपने लिए खुद ही अपना knowledge create करते हैं based on what kind of learning experiences. तो parents को भी I think यही समझना है कि कुछ भी impose नहीं करना है, उनका काम खुद नहीं कर देना है, उनको करने देना है. So instead of making product very important, we should focus on the process that the children are going through to make them learn things in a much better way. And that is what our national policy is saying. कि बच्चों को experiences जरूर दो, let them pass through, get through, observe, explore, experiment, और खुद गलती करके सीखें. So let them commit mistakes, let them learn
Yes.
from it. So that is the growth and development pattern of children which you have brought out very beautifully. And now looking at all this, हमने काफी सारे issues पे बात कर ली है, और एक बहुत important word जो policy में आता है, which talks about inclusive education, that means no child left behind. So I'll go to Dhriti ma'am and tell her to take only 5 minutes. Because I know she has a lot of it to say, because she's beautifully, having this inclusiveness in all our Manav Rachna schools, and the best and the biggest center we have in 46. She has a lot to say, but I will like you to give just highlights, Dhriti ma'am, about inclusiveness, what you understand and how are we practicing, and what more we want to add. So, Dhriti madam, Director Principal, Sector 46, Gurgaon.
Thank you, ma'am, and well said, all the panelists. I mean, it was amazing hearing you all, because you all spoke.
Gone. Dhriti ma'am, you are not audible. I think we lost connection with Dhriti ma'am.
The screen has frozen.
Okay. So in the meanwhile,
from heart. And I think inclusiveness is also one subject which is very, very strong.
yes, Dhritiman, we had lost you for a few minutes. You can come back, please.
Okay. Is it
You're
okay now?
audible now. Yes, yes, you're audible now. Yes, please.
All right. No, I was just saying that everybody spoke from heart.
Yeah.
Why? Because all these issues are so very close to us. We have
Yes.
been, we've been talking about all this. We've been doing all this. So inclusiveness is one aspect of the NEP, which is again a very, very important bit because it talks about inclusion of all, inclusion of all, which would not only, which is widely understood is by for the SEN children, for the special education needs children. It talks about inclusiveness. It talks about inclusion of all children into the learning journey. So though the policies and measures are absolutely critical to attaining full inclusion and equity for all, what is also required is a change in school culture.
Yes.
To create a vibrant, caring, and inclusive environment. So all participants of the school, be it the heads, be it the teachers, be it the administrators, they all need to be sensitized to the requirement of all students, notions of inclusion and equity, and the respect, dignity, and privacy of all persons. Such an educational culture will provide the best pathway to help students become empowered individuals, who in turn will enable society to transform into one that is responsible towards its own vulnerable citizens. So dear friends, dear teachers, dear parents, education is the single greatest tool for achieving social justice and equality. The Global Education Agenda, reflected in Goal 4 for Sustainable Development, seeks to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all by 2030, it says. It was adopted in India too in 2015, and now the National Education Policy 2020, which is the first education policy of the 21st century, aims to address all these issues. When we went through the various chapters or various what was laid down in the national education policy, what we realized how closely we are aligned to it, because our vision and mission statement also says the same, to ensure that all learners get equal opportunities to realize their full potential. A good educational institution will be the one which is which welcomes its students and keeps them safe and in a stimulating environment. Which again, everything that the NEP talks about is so closely aligned to what we are doing in our schools. According to again NEP, the education system must aim at creating enabling mechanisms for providing children with special needs and Divyang. Divyang are the ones who are handicapped also, the same opportunities of obtaining quality education as any other child. The policy also mentions that the school complexes will work for providing all children with disabilities accommodations and support mechanisms tailored to suit their needs and to ensure their full participation. The policy also talks about how teachers must be helped to identify any learning disability and plan specifically according to their needs. Another fundamental principle that will guide the education system at large is flexibility. How flexible are we that learners and teachers work together, but with an aim of a complete holistic education where nobody is again left behind. The awareness and knowledge to know how to teach children with specific disabilities, including learning, will be an integral part of all the teaching programs. So henceforth, a teacher going for a B.Ed or for any degree like that, which would probably would be her degree to teach, if she has an interest for teaching, would include this. Would be a very important part of the program.
Yes.
Where
And Dhriti ma'am, I'd like to add here, since Manavachna also has College of Education, so they have already taken, cognizance of this. And from last year onwards, we have this 4-year integrated B.Ed course and B.Ed with special education as well.
wonderful.
Right? So that is already put in place by the College of Education here.
Yes. Then the policy of Indian Sign Language, again, to bring inclusivity of the children who have a hearing impairment. Again, how to include them into education. There will be, basic subjects using Indian Sign Language also. Then, gender sensitivity is again, which is going to be an integral part, which will focus on bridging the gender gap and provide equal opportunities to all. The policies and schemes of, there are many policies and schemes that are being targeted to bring inclusivity into education, especially for the socio-economically disadvantaged groups. I think each one of us are aware, we as schools are also, encouraging that, where we have a lot of children from the EWS category. We have a lot of children studying with the mainstream children, and they are nowhere behind the other students. I mean, each one stand to gain something from this.
Right. So very beautiful. I think you have put in almost all the important points forward for inclusive, and for the parents to know that all our schools are open, and flexibility of curriculum. We have children up to grade 12 who have been given flexible subjects to move on. So these all have been practices in the school, and the children with various kinds of.
As the children move to grade 9, we bring in a lot of flexibility here, where we offer them subjects which they can deal with. They are very comfortable with. And of course, there is NIOS, which can help them and guide these children. So inclusivity and equity are two areas which are now very important and have been brought forth by the NEP. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dhriti ma'am, because there's a lot that can be spoken, because we are working very closely with this. But I have to now go to Nindya ma'am to be briefly discussing about, all that we teach and learn has to be assessed as well. So how important is assessment, if you could briefly put in place? And then I'll go to Anju Dharmam madam, who will tell us the importance of literacy and numeracy at the foundation stage, which is again very important, but we'll definitely stick to the time because we are left with 20 minutes more. So Nindya ma'am, please.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. And good evening to all the young and enthusiastic parents and teachers. And Nandini, you're doing an excellent job. You have really done your homework. Thank you so much for being there. And I'm also seeing, ma'am, that from 500, we have come down to 400 participants, which I believe very positively that our parents have read the NEP properly. So maybe they'll come back in our next session, definitely. So I would be taking up assessment and evaluation over here. And I believe that whenever we talk of assessment and evaluation, the first thing that comes to our mind is test, pen and paper test, marks. In fact, I would like to add here, ma'am, that just few days back, I had an interaction for a grade 1 parent, and the parent was very apprehensive. He asked me, do you have a pen and paper test in your school? So I said, no, we do not have, because we believe in formative assessment. We believe in continuous assessment. So there was a huge sigh of relief by the parent. So this NEP has definitely brought in a lot of relaxation and a lot of relief for the parents. So it is very important, first of all, to understand what is assessment. So if you ask me, I would say that assessment is gathering and analysis of information. It identifies what child knows, what he understands, what he can do, what he can feel. So essentially, it is observation of the child's learning. It should give an insight into the child's interest, achievements, possible difficulties in the learning, and from which the next steps we can plan. How we can go further from there. So basically, it is a platform to support the planning of a sound curriculum for progression of learning And as Sayogita ma'am, you said initially that it is an assessment of learning. So now the big question is that what is the need to assess the children at this early age? So NEP says that assessment is an essential and integral part of any foundational program so that the learning remains child-centric and the experiences and activities are planned around the child's learning. They are planned according to the level of the child. Policy says that the assessment should be formative, continuous, and should flow from experiences planned in the curriculum.
That is very well said, Nindya ma'am, that the assessment has to be, I think you have put in everything for assessment, that it has to be for learning, it has to be continuous, it has to be comprehensively conveyed also as feedback to the child and to the parents as well. So thank you so much, Nindya ma'am, for putting assessment and evaluation in place for us, and we'll have a deeper discussion later on this topic. And I would like to bring in now Anju madam, the principal of Manav-Rachna Ludhiana, who will briefly tell us about the literacy and numeracy in the foundation stage grades 1 and 2, because these are the two important aspects to be focused on in these stages. The bhasha or mathematical temperament has to be brought in. So Anju ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And a very good evening to my worthy panelists and the august audience. Learning is not the product of teaching. It is the result of activity of the learners. The new education policy 2020 has a thrust for foundational literacy and numeracy to reduce learning poverty. It aims at an implementation plan for attaining universal literacy and numeracy by 2025, and that students entering grade 1 are school ready, but at the same time, the schools are also children ready. As Sayogita ma'am said, when we step into grade 1, there are many teething problems for the KG students. So NEP recommends an interim 3 months play-based, school-based preparation module for all grade 1 students, which is of course continuous and seamless. It emphasizes upon planning events and activities to encourage and excite the students to pursue them. It also emphasizes that a national repository of high quality resources will be made available on the digital platform Diksha. Innovative models to foster peer tutoring and voluntary activities will be established. Public, school and digital libraries will be expanded significantly. Learning through play, play-based learning, experiential learning are some of the strategies to trigger and excite the children. Very happy to share that we at Manav-Rachna don't have to make any radical change to tailor our curriculum in accordance with the NEP 2020. With a multifaceted approach, inquiry-based, discovery-based, learning centers, and collaborative approach, we are and have been able to ignite and sustain the cognitive development of our students. Our well-researched curriculum is not blocked, but it is seamlessly interleaved, thus allowing our students to engage in meaningful activities and to learn in a holistic manner, without the restrictions often imposed by subject boundaries. We believe and have been educating with the spiral upward approach. Students learn more about a subject each time that they revisit or we review it, thus expanding their knowledge and improving their skills. Our teachers are facilitators and sessions have a didactic approach, and we follow the 5C model: communication, creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, and compassion. We at Manav-Rachna are already emphasizing upon foundational literacy and numeracy. We believe in equality as well as equity in opportunities for our students. Would like to conclude by a quote: "Learning is never cumulative. It is a movement of knowing, which has no beginning and no end." Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anju ma'am. And I think the parents and everybody, all of us need to understand the importance of literacy and numeracy. Literacy, when we say, we talk about languages, not only in the print form. Many literacies these days have come in. Your digital literacy has come in. The children are on to reading pictures. Emojis बच्चे आजकल बहुत use करते हैं. So emojis, finding the appropriate emoji for something, creating something, that's again a kind of literacy that has come in. When we talk about foundational literacy, we talk about languages in different forms today. So multi-literacies we are talking about and going to discuss with our children when it comes to literacy. And numeracy, of course, the basics, how to put it into the play base, as Mamta ma'am said, or the experiential, as she said, and how are we going to assess it, as Nindya ma'am said, because she had a we'll come back to Nindya ma'am again. She'll show us some of the portfolios of children, as which is a very, very important part of our curriculum. But before that, I'll ask Nandini if she has any question from the parent side, if we can answer that.
Yes, ma'am. We have one more question here, which says, how will the multilingual approach be implemented in the early years? Does it mean spoken language will not be English anymore?
No, it is not so. As we, anybody would like to answer that?
I could answer that.
Yes, please.
No, it's not that at all. It is encouraging, like Mrs. Sayogita had mentioned initially, it is not being imposed upon no language is being imposed upon anybody. And definitely you can't do without English. So that is going to remain into being. However, because the plan of action has not come into being yet, so we'll wait for the plan of action to come into being. But definitely English is going to remain into being.
Right. And we all know, grades 1 and 2, nursery, KG, it is only spoken languages. So we will also go in for the capacity building of our teachers. From within the institutions, we'll find out, because we have a great pool of teachers. Somebody speaks Marathi language, somebody speaks Bengali language. So how well we can expose our children to different kinds of languages. And also, जैसे English और Hindi बच्चे सीख रहे हैं, आप sounds पे ही base करते हो सारी languages. So if the children start exploring कि sound is common to all languages, so as much as we can, we'll bring in this for creating that exposure. It is not for testing of any kind or learning literacy of that language, because there's a difference in language and literacy. Language is जो आप सुनते हैं और बोलना शुरू कर देते हैं. Literacy ही जब उसका structure पढ़ते हैं, उसकी skills पढ़ते हैं, that is literacy. So languages को expose करना is something different. Where you are speaking a language, जैसे घर पे बच्चा जो है, without knowing the literacy of any language, whatever language he hears, he starts speaking that. That is language learning. Literacy is when he comes formally to school, understands what nouns are, what verbs are, what the subject-verb coordination is. That is how they move about in literacy. So as many as you can. Yes, please. Okay. So one more question that we have here. Nandini, do you have any? I have one here.
Sure, ma'am. There is one more which says, when will the change in curriculum be implemented according to the new education policy?
Right. Will anybody like to answer that?
No, you have said
Yes.
it initially.
Yes.
Yes.
Priti ma'am, you want to say something?
Yeah, it's going to be in phases. NEP plans to bring in all the changes by 2030. That is the aim, wherein maybe something comes by 22, something comes by 25, then 28, and then finally 30 would be the final implementation.
Yes. And as you know, NCERT is going to make the curriculum framework. So as they roll it out, we'll be discussing in the next phases and next educons with you as well. So right now it is guidelines that have come in, but there are a lot of deliberations which have to take place to make it happen. And the parents, are also going through the national education policy. So before I bring in Suchitra madam to discuss about the parental role, so मुझे लगता है कि न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी जिन चीज़ों पे फोकस कर रही है वो पेरेंट्स भी उसको ध्यान से देखें, प्रमोट करें and guide their children. But before that, all of you, one more important aspect of the comprehensive report card is a part of assessment. So I'd like Nindya ma'am to talk about that. How do we, kind of bring in the comprehensive nature of report card, which is so importantly put by NEP?
Yes, ma'am. We are already doing that, ma'am. We have 7 learning areas, as you mentioned in the beginning. So based on those 7 learning areas, we have a very comprehensive report card. So I was reading the chats, and one of the parent had put in a query saying that we should have grade 1 onwards weekly or say fortnightly assessments to assess what the child has learned. So here I would like to pitch in here saying that we're already doing that. The pen, as I said initially, the pen and paper test is not important. What is important is continuous assessment of the learning. The experiences that the child has in the classroom, the behavior, the kind of language being used, the kind of experiential learning that we were talking of in the beginning, the play areas. So it's not just that if we talk of the playway method, it's not just in nurseries and KGs. The parents must understand it's in 1 and 2 also. So we keep documenting these things in the form of portfolios. We have portfolios of the children in the form of the
very
rubrics,
important.
the anecdotal
If
records.
you could show a sample of the portfolio, because this is something very important.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Tina, if you could show the portfolio.
Yeah,
so I would like
some
to
kind
share
of an understanding. Yes. Because in
Yes,
this time, you know, Nindya ma'am, when we all have been pushed into a situation where the things have changed, but I'm very happy
Yeah.
to see that the children are creating their e-portfolios. So if you could share something.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So it's not just that we have portfolios as a hard copy, we have got digital portfolios also. So this is a portfolio for KG student. So wherein his numeracy, his language, his literacy, everything is there apart from the scribbling and the artwork. So all of these are kept in the form of a portfolio digitally as well as in the form of a hard copy. And these give us an insight into the learning of a child. So there is another portfolio. Tina, if you could,
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's another one which I would like to show. This is for a grade 9 student. And this is how we, Tina, if you could show that one, please. So I would like to show it to the parents, and they must see that how we assess our children. Assessment is just not pen and paper test. It is assessment of everything that a child learns in a school. So if you see here, this is a grade 10 Parmeni student, Purujit Yadav, and he's a student of Townwood branch. So we not just maintain these letters and scribbles and the essays or something, achievements, we also have the pictures. So a child writes about himself. What is a child? What am I? And what are his interests? So all his interests are listed here. All his achievements, his success, everything. Keep moving, Tina. So these are different stages wherein, you know, he also talks about his interest, his high order thinking skills, his creativity, his reflections. So all of these things are maintained in portfolios, and we maintain this portfolio for each and every child. So all these learnings, they go into the comprehensive report card that we talk of. So this report card, as ma'am asked, it narrates the progress of the child, and it is shared twice with the parents. So the written report card I'm talking of is shared twice with parents. So our report card, as you can see, is very comprehensive, as you all know, because mostly we have our own parents here. And they all talk of the 7 learning areas, as ma'am said initially, and even Nandini ma'am mentioned it. So I would say that we're already following the guidelines laid down by NEP. And only one thing which we have to add here is that NEP says that the parents should also be part of assessment. And I take pride in saying that we've already adopted this. 6th onwards, we are already having assessment from the parents as well as from the students. So children are having self-assessment forms, and that would be reflected in their report cards also. But next session onwards, we will include this from early years. So the parents will also be part of this assessment. Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Nindya ma'am. And there's one question from the parents which talks about that how it is going to happen in grades 3, 4, 5. So I would just like to say that from grade 3, 4, 5, as NEP says that there has to be a test in grade 3 and then grade 5 and 8. So far as we are concerned, we have very continuous and comprehensive assessment class tests happening. And unit testing is again starting, weekly testing. So NEP has given some guidelines. So as NCERT comes up with that, but we have, you know, so far as to say, if we talk about formative assessment for learning, कि बच्चा अच्छा कैसे करे, that we already have very comprehensively in place. So we will continue with the same as of now. And whenever we bring in change, we'll definitely inform you, because it is not going to be there for creating any kind of external pressure on a child. It will be only for better learning of that child, so that he keeps, you know, kind of comparing his own performances and setting new benchmarks for themselves. So 3, 4, 5, we'll have not a jerky kind of assessment coming in. We'll very smoothly bring in transitions if of any kind required. But otherwise, we'll continue with our own comprehensive and informal assessment, because assessment is different from examination. So I'm not talking about examination, I'm talking about assessment, which is very integral to see how the children are learning. And now, we are reaching towards the end of our session. So I'll request Dr. Suchitra, in the light of new education policy, what she says, thinks that the role of parents have changed, and what is it that they need to bring into their parenting to make children ready for this 21st century education system that is put in place by our leadership. Suchitra, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Good evening from my side to all those who are with us today. Director Manav Rachna International Schools, Mr. Sayogita Sharma, and all my colleagues have said it all. This is one side of the coin. What lies on the other side? It is you, the parents. It is definitely a big statement, yet would like to culminate all my previous speakers' point that NEP 2020 does not have many things that we need to be prepared of. We have done it quite a lot. Yes, some things will be definitely implemented. And everything actually is possible because of the parental support that we always have in our schools. The excellent curriculum, the pedagogical framework that we follow for early children education, fostering the unique capabilities of each and every child, focusing on quality and consistency in the foundation stage, the emphasis on conceptual understanding, research, synergy, whatever you say, according to the NEP, we do emphasize on all. We follow everything, and it is again possible because of the parental involvement that we have in our schools. When we talk of parental responsibility, we can say that every parent understands his child in the best possible manner. However, in the journey of our child's growth, many a times we ignore the parental involvement in the foundation stage. The first thing is parents need to keep in mind is to teach the child the importance of school and the teachers in his life. Always have a positive statement for them. Sometimes definitely there might be slight dissatisfaction, or maybe you need some clarity. That needs to be dealt differently, but without making the child part of it. Any negative statement or discussion about the school or the teacher in front of the child brings in a pause in the learning process. Parental involvement helps to extend teaching outside the classroom and helps children perform better. What is experiential learning? As my colleague said, whatever is done in school is being done at home. This is what is required. A child's most important cognitive development actually happens during the foundation stage. As parents playing an active role in the journey, it makes the classroom teaching a real experience at home. This is what NEP says, which is the new education policy actually stresses on. The policy emphasizing on creating good citizens. So as parents, bring in positivity in your child. And the early years is the best time to start with. Make a routine at home. Be a part of his homework. Homework does not necessarily mean some written work. Be a part of his learning process. What he learns during the day, make it a part of it at the evening hours. Read together. Create a good study atmosphere where there is no disturbance. Talk about the school, good things, about the teacher, about his friends. Have set rules at home and explain that your decisions are firm. Even if he has tantrums, explain to him. Be a role model. As per the NEP, there will be no emphasis on rote learning. My previous colleagues have already categorically told you, do not worry about the assessment because it is going to be a continual process. So as parents, you basically need to see that your child understands what he learns. And as you all must know, that marks should not be the criteria of the assessment. Instead, it should be a continuous process and the child should understand what he learns in school. Life skill will be playing a role. Therefore, help your child to do and learn so that he understands the learning process and make it a happy journey. You must be beside him during this internet usage. Cybersecurity is a big problem that is coming up with the children. So even at tender age, you must monitor what he is doing. Frankly speaking, your involvement will make him more confident, will make him a better citizen. I think, ma'am, that is
very well said. Very well said, Dr. Suchitra. Thank you so much for saying that. All the points that you have put on board for all our parents present here. So I would also like to put across one point only with the parents. That is a very, growth mindset that you need to look at the things, right? Because your children are all on the trajectory of learning. Koi yahan hai, koi wahan hai, but they're all on the trajectory. They're all moving forward. How we facilitate, how we help them move forward is the role that parents and teachers and the schools have to take. And we are all very aware of our role. And I wish all of you very best. But in the chat, I see one question here, which says that you say that you're going to start coding. What languages are the children going to learn it in? So I would simply like to say that presently we have children from grade 6 onwards learning Visual Basic, Q Basic, Python is there in grade 8. And they also have Scratch being practiced. And we will involve a professional agency as well when we bring this feature of coding in, artificial intelligence in, and machine learning in, right? So, but we are already ahead. As I said in the beginning, that Manav management is very, very proactive. So whatever, other than what the NEP says, they're always ready to add on more dimensions. Because if I look at this, what NEP is saying and what we are presently doing with our existing system, we are much more ahead, and we are happy to see that these things are reflected in the policy now, and it should go to all children across India. But coding, artificial intelligence, design thinking, and many more things, maybe your photography is taken into, maybe communication in a big way is taken, maybe agri also comes in. So we will again have a bouquet of these kind of courses, and we'll allow children to pick one from grade 6 onwards. Maybe in the primary 4th and 5th, they get exposed to in an introductory way. And the 6th onwards, they can choose one area, and they will be getting the specific encouragement and coaching and facility to move on. Because Dr. Amit Bharla, the Vice President, and Dr. Prashant Bharla, who's the President of Manav Rachna, I think both of them, day in and day out, keep thinking about education and the children. What is there available best in the world which can come to us? Us means the teacher community working with Manav Rachna, the parents who are associated with us. And at this time, I must, compliment and congratulate all the parents, because we all know that we were thrown into this very emergency situation without any kind of preparation. The children also, जिनका हमें लगता है कि इनको technology बहुत आती है, बहुत fast है, but they also did not know how to learn on technology. And the parents also had to, arrange so much. The teachers had to adapt themselves. बहुत मेहनत करनी पड़ी teachers को, और management को मेहनत करनी पड़ी to get this technological platform in place, ताकि वो एक safe platform लेके आए, एक अच्छा comprehensive platform लेके आए. But we have all been together, and today where we sit, I think it's a lot of satisfaction to the parent community, to the teacher community, to the management, and all of us, feel good about that the learning of children has not stopped. It has moved forward and moved forward in a very, very beautiful way. And the children also, I must, through you, would like to congratulate all the children of Manav Rachna कि कितनी जल्दी उन्होंने सिस्टम को अडेप्ट किया, असेसमेंट को अडेप्ट किया, चाहे वो सब्जेक्टिव टाइप है, चाहे वो ऑब्जेक्टिव टाइप है, या हमने अभी सेल्फ असेसमेंट भी ऐड कर दिया है राइट फ्रॉम ग्रेड 6 ऑनवर्ड, जब हाफ ईयरली होने वाले हैं बच्चों के. So there is a form on self-assessment as well, and we also created a kind of assessment where we'll send it to parents कि आप भी हमें बताएं कि आपके बच्चों की जो study habits हैं या behavior at home है which is conducive to learning, how do you rate it? So I think this all makes it a very, very comprehensive system of learning, and we should all feel good about that we are very well connected, and we are there in support of each other, strengthening each other and moving forward. So, and one last question which I have here is, Nandini, do you have any question? One last, if we can answer that.
Yes, ma'am, there is one, which says, due to children not being able to attend school physically, they are missing out on something. And is there anything that parents can help to do to make them make available the learning environment which they had back in school?
Definitely, Nandini, I will say that, complete paradigm shift हो गया है. हम लोग पहले स्कूल में बैठ के पूरा experiential learning की environment create किया करते थे. Yes, all activities in the learning centers, in the classrooms, edu trips, everything was in place, arranged, thought of by teachers. And now this learning environment has moved to the home spaces. So we'll request the parents to create that real life connect with learning. वो जो हम यहाँ करने की कोशिश करते थे, now child is there in the real life setup. So how can you support them? Bring it very near to reality. That is, and you are all doing that beautifully, because जब हम देखते हैं कि किसी भी class के teacher ने कोई project दिया है, and very supportingly the parents help their children create that, and the children are displaying that. So I think you are all doing your job fantastically, and we move ahead with that kind of support, cooperating each other, and collaborating with each other. And the future is bright for Manav Rachna as an organization, and all children and all parents with us. So I think that is all we had in the questions today, but we will look forward to more questions. You can send it to your schools, which will always be answered. And we'll have another series. It's a series we have started. So we have the next educational conversations again, and we'll inform you very well in time. So thank you so much, all principals who have been on board and given your insight into all areas specific to education policy and to ECCE and to foundation stage. So thank you very much, all the parents, all the teachers who have joined us, and wish you all good health, safety, and feel good, feel life, and face the challenges very happily. Stay with the growth mindset. We are all together, and we'll come out successful out of this also, and we'll soon meet in the physical environment of our schools. Thank you so much, and thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, parents, for being